What's going on? I'm back with another deck profile. Today it is a Super 17 list that was piloted by Russell Stelzer to get top 16 at the Dragon Ball Super National Championship this past weekend. Me and Russell actually played on stream in round 7 and he whooped my ass, so this is one of my losses. I was a big fan of the deck. If you watch the feature match, which I will link the link to the actual match in the description, you can see I didn't even know what some of the cards in the deck did. I had to read, I think, this Hellfighter 17, I had to read that card multiple times, which you know that's never a good sign if you have to read a card multiple times. Um, Honestly, I just was super unprepared to play against this. I really didn't expect to play against this. Um, like I said, I believe in my previous video, and anyone that knows me, I don't play test a lot. I'm usually pretty busy with work and school, so especially with the new set being pretty new, I didn't have time to really play test. I went to a local, and played 2 games online, so didn't really have a lot of testing. I was just going into the event, so I really didn't know what a lot of these cards did. This deck is really, really powerful. I like it more than Android 17/18, I think, because the leader allows you to definitely get your sparking, and it gives you crit on your flip side, um, which after you discard their hand down, if you crit their life, it's obviously near impossible for them to come back into the game because they just don't have any resources. So getting right into the deck list, starting off, played 4 Dr. Gero, Evil's Inventor. Pretty standard in any Android deck. That's just going to get you your pieces, your 17s, your 18s, any of your other Super 17s that aren't 17/18 because they're still Androids. So that's super, super good. And then the defensive stance, Super Saiyan and Vegeta. That is one of the super combos that Russell played. It's just one of the new super combos. It's always a 10k, and then at Sparking 5, you draw a card. With this leader, Sparking 5 is super easy. After 2 attacks, that's 4 cards guaranteed. You just need 1 other card, so after 3 attacks, you're instantly alive, or 2 attacks in a combo. Pretty simple. 2 Endless Malice Android 17. So the reason why he played this, I believe, I didn't actually ask him about this choice, is because if he actually decided to play it and not put it under Android 17, it would only be 2 energy and acts in the same way since it wouldn't get a 5k buff from the leader anyway. So it would just be a 15k crit attack. It does require you to burst 3, I believe, but it's the same effect that a Dreadful Duo Android 17 would have, but it would actually just cost him 2 mana instead of 3. So I believe that is why he chose to play that. 2 Stoutheart Android 16. This is, I believe, a far better super combo than Defensive Stance Vegeta, but as you can see, the deck did not play Self-Awakeners, so unless his opponent awakened him, this card was not live. So I believe he played the Defensive Stance, so even if they didn't awaken him, he would still have some super combos live, where Android 16 later in the game is just extremely good. 4 Deadly Defender Android 18. That's pretty standard, I'd say, in any Android deck now. She's just super, super good, especially with the 17/18 leader, because she stays as a 20k on your opponent's turn, which is the main reason why she's super good. So in this deck, she's not as good as the 17/18 leader, but she's still probably the best 18 that you can play for 3 energy, because she provides you some defense against Storm. Energy Guard Android 17. This is just pretty standard 17, 3 energy, can attack, go back to a blocker. Most of these 17s you're going to be putting under your Cell or Hellfighter anyway, so their effects aren't super important, but it is still a solid 3-drop you can play, swing with it, readies up as a blocker for you. 4 3-drop Cell, obviously standard with the Cell chain, starts the thing going. You play plenty of 17s, 6 different 17s for you to put under, and then 6 18s, so good amount of targets for you to get your Cell going off. And unless you mill a bunch of your pieces or draw a bunch of your pieces, then it's pretty consistent that you're gonna see the Cell, because you're not hard mulling for it, but you definitely want to see it in your opening hand, so you're gonna mull for it, and your leader's already drawing cards unawakened, So you're going to see a few more cards by the time you get to turn 3 anyway, especially if you're going second. And then Hellfighter Android 17. This is the card I had to read multiple times, so I'm just going to pull it up right here so I can read it again for you. So Barrier, 3-drop. Union Absorb. Place one Android 17 card from your hand or drop area under this card. That's broken. Already, this effect's broken because you don't have to use a card from your hand. You can just put a 17 from your drop area underneath this. One of the ones that you milled from your leader effect. You just put it underneath this. You choose a Super 17 of energy cost 4 from your deck or drop area again, so you can just grab one on your drop. If you still want to leave the other one in your deck, put it in play. Like if you milled it over, put it on top of this. So we'll get into the other ones. So now I can bring out Super 17, the Infernal Machine, or Super 17 to Further Heights. The typical one for the chain is to Further Heights. This one right here. Barrier and Deflect. So just like the other one below it, Barrier, so they can't touch it once you bring it out. When you play it, choose one of your opponent's battle cards and KO. So that's nice. So already you're 17, you're saying, all right, cool, I'll put a 17 under my Hellfighter. Go get this Barrier 20k. Pop your thing for free. Already good, right? You didn't spend any extra cards, pop their thing for free. Upgrade your guy to a 20k. Can't be negated either, mind you. If not really that relevant. Bloodlust isn't super played in the format anymore, especially because of Deflect. So, but in that case, just in case, can't be negated. Then from there for 4, you can choose a cell from your hand or drop area again, place it underneath the card, and go get a Super 17 of energy cost 6 from your deck or drop area and put it on top of it. So unless the card is in your life, you can pretty much put it on top of this, because if it's in your hand, you can just swing and combo with it. So then it's in your drop, put it in play over it. Ghost gets the Super 17 6-drop. That's this guy. This guy is nuts. So, critical, dual attack, deflect, sparking 10. You're going to have sparking 10 because you're your leader. When this card attacks, if your leader is a green android card, your opponent just chooses 2 cards in their hand and place them in the drop area. So, obviously, this is incredible. Unless they Mafuba it on the first swing, even if they Mafuba on the first swing, you discard 3 cards in their hand. That's amazing. If they don't Mafuba it, it's discarding like minimum 4 cards plus combo / negates. So that's instantly like 6 cards. Or critting their life. Like, that's incredible. If they don't kill it, which you just discard a fuck ton of cards in their hand, they lose. Because you're discarding all those cards over again. And if you... The strategy that Russell did and the whole point of the deck is you bring out Hellfighter on 3, then you Cell Chain on 4, and bring out this guy for free. Pop something out. So they have a clear board pretty much unless they have barrier threats. And then on 5, you tap 4 to bring out this guy. You don't swing with the cell, right? So now going into their turn, they're going to have 4 cards. If their leader's awakened, which you're not going to awaken them, other than like, unless they're already awakened from your leader attacks, you're not going to awaken them with your cell or anything else like that. So they're going to have like 4 cards, maybe 5 cards from a leader swing. Super limited on cards. And you have a barrier threat, so that's hard. They can't really get rid of this. Even if they pop the cell, you're bringing out this guy next turn, discarding the rest of their hand, and critting them down. If you're flipped at your leader, you're critting them down at your leader too. So once you get this guy out after a cell chain, it's so hard for your opponent to win. I was playing Hercule, and I could not come back with my hand at all. Like, my hand was destroyed. Like, there's so much discard from this card. This card is so underrated. Like, I now know what this card can do. And the other Super 17 it plays that you can bring out is this one right here. Super 17, the Infernal Machine from the tournament pack. So this one can't be negated, and it's a double striker. So that's super good, especially versus like decks like Janemba, because they can't use their leader effect on it either. When you play it, you can discard 2 cards from your hand, and if you do, they discard 2 cards from their hand. So obviously, it's not as good discard-wise as going into this and into this. But against like decks like Janemba or something like that, or decks where they're at lethal, or times they're at lethal, I should say, where you just want to make sure that double striker is not getting negated, you can just go into this guy, swing, combo your whole hand. And if this guy's already staying on the board, you're going into this guy for free. You can choose, like if you have dead cards in your hand, you can discard them, or you don't even have to do it. And you can swing with him, can't be negated, and you have all your energy to combo. So you can make a huge combo where they're probably not going to have all their energy open. Even if they left like 1, 2, 3 energy up, you're going to have 4 or 5 energy up. So you have a lot more energy for 10Ks in your hand. So that's that whole chain. Limitless Energy Android 17. This guy's just a super solid 4-drop, 20K barrier blocker, pop something when it comes in play. Super good. Obviously in the Android, the 17-18 leader, it gets up to like 25K for 3 energy. It's absurd value in that deck. This deck's still super solid 4-drop. It's a name as well. It's a barrier blocker in case you're playing against Victory Strike. The player that did well at Victory Strike, Matt Sublet, plays Bardock, the Super Saiyan Bardock Overrealm that can swing on actives. So in his main deck. So if you're playing against this, unless you have multiple of them out, he's just gonna swing on it with that combo to kill it. It starts as a 30K combo up to kill it, and then Victory Strike you. So, but still, the idea that barrier blocker is something that you need just in case. It's really the only thing that you can have for defense against it with this deck. Obviously, the 5-drop cell and 7-drop cell, the Super 17s, those go into the chain. So, getting into just black 1-drops, 2 Kami, probably just against Flood, Storm, stuff like that. If they flood the board and you just can just play it. And it's also just a value 1-drop that draws a card. And then 2 Crisis Crusher. That's certainly against other decks that are using 1-drops to awaken. So like Hercule, a lot of the time uses Pan to awaken. I used, as you saw in my other deck profile, Vegeta as well, in case people played Crisis Crusher. But this also stops like the red 1-drops, the green Gohan that people use to self-awaken, slows down Storm. So like this, along with Shocking Death Ball, gives him a better chance against Storm. Shocking Death Ball is obviously just an incredible negate. 1 energy, kill a negate attack, kill a 2-drop. And you can also play it if you're tapped out if you're Sparking 5, which your leader allows you to do very easy. Getting into a side deck. Obviously, I didn't talk to him about all the card choices, so I'm not 100% sure on his mentality on everything. But I'm just going to analyze it from my point of view. So he has a small blue package, 8-card blue package, 2 Whisk Horse negate, 4 Bean, 2 Awakening Talent Pan. I'm going to assume that goes in versus Storm, just for defense, 2 more negates and 4 Beans. I don't see really what else he would put that in versus. Matchup-wise, the 2 Pan is kind of odd. You would think versus Storm, which is why I assume that he probably had another matchup in mind that maybe I'm not seeing off first glance, where he wanted the Pan as his self-awakening tool, because like I said, he doesn't main deck self-awakening, so he does side deck Pan and Black Mass Saiyan for a little bit of self-awakening, but he doesn't have like an on-color green self-awakener or anything. Then obviously Bean's broken, and Whisk Horse, I'm assuming, like I said, versus more aggro matchups that he wants more negates. 2 King Vegeta Surprise Attack. That card with Deadly Defender is incredible. Pretty much says like for the turn, like pass, unless you're just gonna run everything into it. I mean, they could still like run a mirror into it, kill their mirror. That doesn't matter. Or just swing combo to like 45K. Like they're gonna combo anyway, and they just don't care if that battle card dies, regardless. Something like that, or like a leader swinging combo. But it's still a really good defensive wall. 2 CB Surprise Attack, another negate. This is really good versus Storm as well. Allows you to use your energy to be Surprise Attack, kill like Goten or something. And then after, if you're tapped out, you can still Shocking Death Ball. So that's another option, another solid green negate. And the Black Mass Saiyan, Zeno Chain. If you have this out and they don't have like Planet M2 or Championship Pack Vegeta, it's really hard to obviously deal with, because they know if they Zeno Chain, they're discarding cards, so they have to find a removal for it before they can Zeno Chain, and they're on a clock, obviously, with your deck. This is also a colorless Self-Awakener, so you can side deck that in and Self-Awaken, or help Self-Awaken versus like U7 Frieza or something like that, decks that aren't going to attack him, or just anything really where he feels like he needs the Self-Awakening, where they're not going to attack him a lot, where he needs to be like, taking his own life. Additionally, with obviously the effects, it's great versus Pan, great versus, like I said, Chain Zeno, other Chain Zeno decks. It's even decent versus Hercule if they don't have removal, like Goku Oob gets affected by it. So card's just kind of obnoxious. Really solid one drop. So that is Russell's deck that he used to get top 16. I'm a big fan of the deck. I'm not gonna lie, I pretty much built the same deck. I changed a few things, like 3 or 4 cards, because I thought it was a fun deck. It looked fun, and I piloted a few games, and so far it's been great to play. It runs smooth. I like pretty much 90%, 99% of the deck. Just like I put 2 or 3 self-awakening cards in the main deck just in case. But I also don't own Crisis Crushers, so if I own Crisis Crushers, I would, and I was going to Nationals, I would main deck that. My local people don't play Storm anyway, really, so I wouldn't main deck Crisis Crusher. I main deck Self-Awakening cards. But that's just because at my local, there's no real Storm players. The only people that really play Storm are kind of off the deck now that like the competitive season is like at a break. So that's just like the few changes I made. You can also obviously adjust a few cards to your local meta, like Kami, Crisis Crusher. Those cards might not be 100% necessary. Crisis Crusher, and probably 90% of your guys' local metas, someone's probably playing Storm. People are probably playing Storm. Or other decks where Crisis Crusher is going to be really good. Just stop their 1-drops from swinging to Self-Awaken and stuff. If I get them, I'm going to add them, but right now my local hasn't given them out, so still working on that. Until next time, I do have 2 more deck profiles right now to record, so those should be up probably tomorrow and either the next day or the day after that for the other one. And then I'm going to have some playing on stream matches online as well. I'm going to try and get some in-person video like matches as well from like my local or just casual play with someone. So until next time, peace.